In Darius's time, the flames blazed in old cult sites in a universe full of secrets. Persian ritual described that the dead be offered to the heavenly afterlife on these towers of silence. There, the corpses were left out for the vultures, mediator beings who would consume the earthly body and carry it to heaven. The signs of the firmament, whether good or bad, would certainly have had a strong influence on people in ancient Persia. But something quite different probably decided the war. A superior weapon. The sarissa. With a blade forged from the finest iron, it was as hard as steel. A high-tech instrument of war in the hands of Alexander's soldiers. But the real secret of the sarissa was its shaft, 7 meters long. The Macedonian soldiers held it in both hands from beneath. Alexander's highly trained elite, the phalanx. Anyone attacking a phalanx had to fight through a forest of lances before he could reach the first enemy soldier. The troops that Darius was mobilizing were said to be invincible. They were called the 10,000 Immortals, elite soldiers who could perhaps overcome the Greeks' phalanx technology. But these perfectly drilled warriors had one flaw. Most of them were legionaries. The Persian great king was leading a motley collection of soldiers from a variety of countries. The army that would charge Alexander was an army of mercenaries. And many of them were Greek.
Das macht man sich ja gar nicht klar, dass die eigentlichen Gegner Alexanders auf der persischen Seite die griechischen Söldner gewesen sind. Und von daher muss man sagen, ein Staat, der sich mit seinen eigenen Bürgern nicht verteidigen kann, der ist schon im Grunde auf dem absteigenden Ast.
Alexander, on the other hand, had highly motivated soldiers, fellow countrymen who worshipped him. He was the focal point of every strategy. He was their idol, and his men followed his tactical genius unconditionally. The example Alexander was the key to their common victory. On the 1st of October, 333 BC, the armies clashed on the plain of Gavgamela. Darius could still hope. On the open terrain, his troops, outnumbering Alexander's by 3 or 4 to 1, gained the upper hand. But in the midst of the tumult, Alexander played his trump card, his daredevilry, all or nothing. The British Museum has a unique collection of cuneiform stone tablets, reports from a time whose great events are far back in the darkness of history. Dr. Irving Finkel has deciphered a chronicle dating back 2,300 years. Discovered in Babylon, it is a kind of contemporary war report on the events at Gavgamela.
So this is a piece of a diary which talks about the battle. It doesn't tell us a lot. It tells there was panic among the Persians, led by Darius, who's called the king, and there's another character called the great king, who is Alexander, and how there was a rout, and that was the end of the Persians, basically. So when you put the Greek authors together and the Babylonian authors together, you get some kind of picture of the world as it was then.
This find is historical confirmation of the ancient mosaic in Naples. The last minutes of the battle could really have been like this. Integrating Persian army driven back by a cold-blooded Alexander. Alexander was triumphant for the second time, and Darius turned to flee also for the second time. History was repeating itself. King Darius abandoned his men. The commander of a far superior force simply left to their fate the men who were fighting for him. Soldiers who would never again obey his orders.
Der König, der das Schlachtfeld verlässt, verliert damit natürlich auch den Rückhalt seiner Truppen, die sagen, wenn der abhaut, warum sollen wir uns dann für seine Sache schlagen? Das ist mit Sicherheit der psychologisch schwierigste Fall überhaupt gewesen. Aber Darius war halt dahingehend nicht so stark.
What must he have been thinking about during that desperate ride? The consequences for his men's morale, for the whole empire, for Darius himself? Darius was not an outstanding ruler. He was caught in the constraints of his office, of tradition, of his ancestral heritage. Caught as if in a cocoon that left him no room to move. His only duty was to stay alive.